before we begin, let me do what I always do. Are you all right if we both record and we both can publish wherever we like as long as it's unedited?
Absolutely, yes, please.
Wonderful. Thanks, Aaron. Okay,
Thank you.
I've got to start by saying I'm a little bit disappointed. We had quite a long conversation about a week ago in which I thought we'd come to an understanding of we didn't quite get where each other were coming from in terms of the specifics, but at least we knew what each other started with. In that I see you as an animist and some sort of deist who sees the universe as God and as universally conscious. And we also talked about what it meant to be an atheist. And then you put that post up, which it made me feel like you hadn't listened to a word I'd said.
Well, I'm sorry it made you feel that way. I do like to instigate a little bit, but there is it's not that I'm saying that. I mean, I'm not sure there are some connections that I see across the board with atheism, Satanism, a few things, absurdism, even nihilism, in my view of it. So I'm not saying that it all overlaps, if that's what offended you.
Well, I wasn't offended as such. I don't get offended. I think that's quite irrational to be offended about anything.
I agree.
If you want, I'll explain, but that's just, that's my statement. I don't do offense. I don't do
I absolutely agree with you.
But obviously, this is going to go out on YouTube. Do you mind if I'll stick the thing up anyway? I'll stick the screen grab up. But do you mind if I read out what you wrote? Because I've got a number of problems with it. Okay, I wrote it down this time. I was more prepared.
I'm
So
a little more prepared.
Good man. Good man. It was in a comment that you'd put on someone else's post, which I won't bore the audience with now because it's more interesting what you said. And you said, but we all worship something. The question is what? If we say nothing, we're leaving a space for chaos and breeding a lie. No high power, no direction. I suspect you have a higher power. Therefore, from my understanding, you're not really an atheist. Nobody really is. But if you worship your own ego or take no responsibility, which I thought was odd, then very much the same as Stan worshippers, self-centeredness and pride. And that seems to me to be completely at odds with the explanation of atheism that I gave you. So I suppose I don't understand where you're coming from with that. What did you mean?
Well, would you mind giving me your atheism, what you'd describe it as again, if you wouldn't mind?
Well, it's the thing that you said was posturing last time. It's non-belief. I have not been convinced by any God proposition that I've ever heard. Therefore, I do not believe them. That's it.
Right, but wouldn't that mean that you don't believe? I mean, it's a non-belief is not a belief, so you're just kind of a questioner, which, I mean, if we're going by that definition, I struggle with God as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to say I know. So I guess we could both say we're atheists, but that's
I
not
don't
my
say I know
understanding.
either. And again, we talked about this last time, the difference between knowledge and belief. I do not know.
Yeah.
I'll give you the same example again. I do not know that there is not some cowardly God hiding behind an asteroid somewhere near Betelgeuse. But I have no reason to believe it. I don't claim to know. I'm saying I don't believe. That doesn't mean that, hang on, It doesn't mean I'm a Stan worshipper. I guess you meant Satan worshipper. It doesn't mean I'm
Yeah,
leaving a space for chaos and breeding a lie, because I'm not making any claim, so there is no lie.
right. I said
And it certainly
room
doesn't
for
mean I
lie.
worship my own ego.
Right, but you worship a higher power then
No, I don't.
than
I don't
yourself.
worship anything. No, I don't worship
Well, you
anything.
don't believe. Well, I guess we'd have to define worship. I mean,
Okay,
it's sort of
how
the
do you define
same.
worship?
Well, I would say it's much the same as religion. I mean, I don't like to say I'm religious, but I do religiously brush my teeth. I'm religiously honest. I'm religiously loving. I mean, that doesn't. I mean, I would say the worship's pretty much the same thing. It's kind of really believe or alignment. It's something that you put at the top of your hierarchy above many other things.
Um, can I see if what we're arguing about is an equivocation? If I changed the
Yeah,
word religiously for consistently, would that still work for you?
yeah, that would work.
Okay, so I would say that I am
I suppose.
consistently honest. I would say that I am
Well,
consistently compassionate, but I don't see any
actually,
root religion in any of that.
it doesn't quite work because if you're just consistently honest, then you don't believe in being honest. You're just honest. I mean, a sociopath could be honest, but they're not doing it with any morals. They're not doing it with any devotion. They're just doing it. Maybe it's a
Okay,
strategy.
then in that case, let's forget that equivocation, because that was why I was testing it. That doesn't
Yes.
quite work. How do you define worship?
That's one I haven't really defined much, but I would say again it's religiously it's believing in something. It's something that you believe is a force in the universe. I mean, it's really knowing or belief. I think is the closest thing I could say. It's something that you believe and therefore you well, I mean, religiously is the way that I'd see it is that you religiously give to it. You sacrifice to it.
Okay, well, let's analyze that a bit more then. See, I believe my two cats exist, and I sacrifice for them in that I pay money to get them food and take them to the vets and all of that stuff. Does that mean I worship my cats?
That's fair, but I'm talking about metaphysical concepts. I'm talking about, you know, bigger truths like
Right.
love.
Well, okay. Then in that case, I cannot worship myself because I'm not a metaphysical concept. I'm a flesh and blood material human being.
Well, there's more to you than that, though.
No,
And
there
I
isn't.
agree, you can't. But I mean, there's the consciousness, there's the who you are, not just what you are.
But who I am is an emergent property of my nervous system.
That's what is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
There's also right, but there's also what ought to be, and there's also what was, and there's also what is, regardless of you, that you're
None
part
of
of.
which is relevant. What was is not relevant to what is. What ought to be is a
Well, what
matter of
was created.
subjective opinion. I am what
No.
I am.
Well, I mean, your judgment of what ought to be is, but what ought to be, it ought to be. I mean, and it will be. It's
Well, you're saying
it's
that,
it's
but that would involve there being a plan. And
uh,
that's
that's a
that's my
that's an
dispute.
interesting point.
Well, you
Yeah,
can't have
no,
an ought
I
to
get what you.
be. You can't have an ought to be without a plan.
You
I have
know,
no reason to
there's
believe there is a plan or a planner.
there's a counterintuitive way of understanding things that normally we say plan or we say or people like to believe in divine intervention and I don't. But there is laws of the universe like gravity, and that's part of the plan. You could say it's part of the laws.
Yeah, but we covered that
It's the
last
way the
time, that
universe is gonna.
those laws of the universe are descriptive, they're not prescriptive. We
Well,
covered this last
they're
time.
both. I mean, I guess I'm not sure exactly. I think I know what you mean by prescriptive, but it is almost prescriptive. It happens to you. I mean, it doesn't. It's not just is. It also. I mean, it's a law. It's
Yeah, but in terms of a descriptive
it
law,
applies.
what we are seeing is that consistently, when I drop something like this lighter, it hits the floor.
Right.
That's the description. It's also consistent. That's why we call it a law. But it doesn't necessarily require a plan.
It doesn't. It doesn't in the sense of a plan. I wouldn't even call it a a plan. And what's not the word I'd use. It really does almost hit it on the nose, but it doesn't. The laws of the universe order the universe and inevitably turn some rocks running around in space that are seemingly chaotic into order.
Yeah, okay. But that doesn't involve a deity. That's just nature being nature.
Well, what that is, my deity.
Well, I get that, but we started going off topic because we started talking about defining worship. And you were very clear that we all worship something. The question is what? If we say nothing, we're leaving a space for chaos and breeding a lie. How am I
Right.
breeding a lie?
So we all have a hierarchy, and if we admit, because we do, if we admit we do, we are in control of that hierarchy. So, for example, if we say we believe in truth, what builds inside of our physical brain is we're building truth. We're building on, or at least what we believe is truth. And I mean, inevitably, everything is built of truth somewhat, but we build on that truth, and we say things like, I'm a good carpenter, and that's something that we can is pretty objective as opposed to subjective, and so we could build on that in my mind. But if I'm not a good carpenter, then that breeds a lie. So if I don't have something there that I know, so let's say I worship love, which is one thing that I do, and I worship truth, then, or I'd say I do, then I know that I worship those things, and I can aim towards them, build around them, and I know they exist. If I don't, I leave a big space, and anything can exist in that space. I really
Right, now
don't believe that.
you tied the word worship to religion. I would say I
Right.
value truth. I don't need religion, but I value truth. But truth is not a
But
power. It is something I do. I am honest. That does not mean
well,
that I am religious in that sense.
but you're honest because you choose to be. If you were just
Yeah.
honest, that would be like a robot.
Yeah, I'm honest because I choose to be honest.
But a robot, right? Because you choose to be. So you're not. You
Yeah.
say I am, but you are honest because you choose to be.
Yeah. But that's not religious and it's not worship.
Well, you choose to
If
be
you take
because of
it
the
right,
hierarchy in your mind.
if you take it
What
right
you
down to
align.
brass tacks, it's a strategy. I have found that honesty is the best policy, to quote that trite
Well, but
maxim.
it's not just right. But it's not just a strategy because you actually believe it.
I believe that being honest is a good strategy.
You believe it's a good strategy, but you also believe it's a truer way to be. True?
Well, that's a tautology. Being honest is a truer way to be. Of course, you're just reframing the principle of being honest and speaking truth. But it's
Right, but a
meaningless.
strategy could,
You might as well say
well,
a green leaf is green. Yeah.
but a strategy to what end?
A strategy what?
To what end?
Well, I'm part of a social species. if I am honest, then other members of my social species recognize that I am honest and they trust me, and therefore I am more effective in my navigation of life within a social species.
Right, but wouldn't you say that then that it's objectively true that truth is the best policy?
I didn't say it was objectively true. I said that I believe it
I'm
is
asking.
true.
I'm asking. Would you say that it is?
No, because I don't think it falls into that category. I don't think that you can say objective in terms of a concept like truth because it's abstract in itself.
I would say that truth is the easiest thing to say that it's objective because I mean take
No.
it exactly in the context you put it in. If I lie to my neighbors, then I don't get a million things. I create a million problems. I bring the possibility of pure chaos into the mix. And the more I do, the more I do. And the
The, the,
opposite's
the
true of
problem
truth.
the problem with calling that objective is that objectivity is that which is so irrespective of a mind. My mind
Right.
decides what is true. So I speak truth as I see it, but that is necessarily subjective.
Maybe the specific truths that you believe could be seen as subjective, but they're also objective, or tend to be, because I mean, truth itself outside of you is objective. That's truth. I mean,
Let
it's
me give you an
objective to say,
illustration. Let me give you an illustration in more general terms. I, for many, many years, for decades now, have been an activist in relation to anti-racism and anti-Nazism and anti-fascism. However, my society, the Overton window, I don't know if you understand what that means, but the Overton window in my society is moving significantly more to the right. And we have a number of very far right, I would argue fascist individuals, gaining a great deal of popularity among people who also think that what they're following is true. I
right,
disagree
but
with them.
regardless,
I
right, but
disagree with them.
regardless of I,
My subjective opinion is that racism is wrong and fascism is wrong. Their subjective
but it,
opinion is that those things are correct. They are
but you're
they are
saying,
necessarily subjective.
but your belief is that it is the truth,
My
the
belief
objective truth.
my belief is that it's true, but I'm not arrogant enough to say that I have a handle on objectivity in matters that are largely abstract. That would be
Right,
incredibly
I
arrogant
understand,
of me.
but you're still aiming for it though.
Yeah, because it's what I
So the
believe
reason
to
that,
be true, but you can't call it
right,
objective, it's subjective.
well, but I can. You're aiming for objective truth.
Let me give you another illustration. And this one comes from Matt Dillahunty, who talks about the rules of chess. And he says, chess is absolutely arbitrary. We have created rules for arbitrary reasons. However, once you have agreed on those rules, then you can objectively assess whether or not a particular chess move is a good move or a bad one. But the foundation for that is still arbitrary and it's still, in essence, subjective until you agree the rules. In the illustration I just
Right.
gave you, I have not agreed the rules with those people who are being fooled by people like, I don't know if you've heard of him, Nigel Farage or Tommy Robinson, the people in this country who are promoting a Nazi agenda and fooling people because they're not dressing it up with jackboots and iron crosses. They're dressing it up in, oh, we are your friend and we care about the workers, just as Hitler did. We don't agree on what the rules of the game are. Therefore, we
Right.
haven't reached a point where we can have that objectivity.
Right, and I understand you're in a pretty abstract area, but for example, if I say that I don't believe that gravity will drop this pencil when I drop it, it's not as true as saying that it will. So objectively, it's truer to say that it will.
Yeah, that's objective. But to talk
Right.
about my belief as in anti-racism and anti-Nazi, that's not an objective truth. That's my subjective opinion.
As the best strategy for so
I believe so.
as
Yeah,
an attempt to align with the most true truth. I mean, the most objective truth.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe
Right.
so.
I'm not
That does not make it
right
objective. It means that it's my belief.
about what might be objective or what might be the most true truth,
Well,
even if
I
it's
can
objective
believe
relative truth.
I can believe it is objectively true, but that doesn't in itself make it objectively true. I
No, it
believe it
doesn't.
is,
But
but so
right.
what? Who cares what I think?
Well, I mean, I do, but it's 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 still an attempt to align with what is.
Yeah, it's an attempt. That doesn't
Yeah,
mean it's
I would
correct.
agree. No, but I'm
I
just saying
believe
there
it's
is
correct.
an objective truth, and we should try to align with it, of course. Why wouldn't you? And that's so you build a structure on trying to align with that objective truth. And those what you believe is the objective truth, I would say that is probably your biggest part of what is your God. It's at the top. Yeah, now
Right,
I
it's
I
not a God.
amalgamate
It's an opinion.
right, but that's my definition is that what you have at the top of your hierarchy is your belief of objective truth is your God because you believe it is the objective truth or the direction to find it or all that. And the objective truth is, you might say, the truth, the true truth, and I call that God.
Okay, well, I think you are using a definition of God that is unique to you, frankly. And if
Sadly,
that's
it's
what you
pretty
think
rich.
God is, cool. But it's certainly got nothing to do with any God concept that I've ever been introduced with. What you seem to be talking about are your values and your opinions.
Well, no. I mean the beyond that. I mean the source. I mean the before and the after. The laws of the universe. You could call it the laws of physics or the truth of truth, but we don't have it all, so I have to add something to that. So I would say the source which we're mining the laws of physics from, that we're observing it from, that we're studying it
Well,
from.
what's this source then? What is it?
And it's the source. It's the laws of the universe.
Well, you said we get the laws of the universe from it. So what is
Well,
it that
we
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 get the
define
source
laws.
from?
We define like you say, we define in our subjective way what we believe the laws of the universe are. So I'm saying, but the actual, for sure, laws of the universe, which ultimately are probably ungraspable.
Okay, but what's the
That's why I
source?
add. Well, I mean, it's the source
Yeah, give me some
from.
characteristics of the source.
Well, it always has been. It always will be. I mean, it is. It's. I like the definition of I am that I am. It is what it is. It
Right,
is
but we
what is.
don't know. We talked last time about how, yeah, we mentioned Descartes and cogito ergo sum and all of that. We know what is now. We don't know that something
Mm-hmm.
has always been, and we certainly don't know that something always will be unless we've got a crystal ball. How do you
No, you're
know
right.
this?
It's well, I mean, I know because something's moving the universe, and
How do you know?
it's just something you know. I mean,
No,
even if
how
it's
do
a
you know?
simulation, something I just do. it's something that, I mean, you can't, even if it's a simulation, something's running that simulation, and outside that simulation is something real.
And how do you know it's permanent?
I don't know that it's permanent.
Right. So when
Maybe
you
the
said it
rules of
always
course.
was and always will be, you didn't know that. You were just saying it.
I mean, I suppose I can't really say that's not true. I mean, you're right. Source could just always change, but from my observation, my entire life, it doesn't. And especially when you get into metaphysical truth, when you're talking about love, for example, it's never going to change that peace is better than war. Or, I mean, for an example, you could be the apex predator of any system anywhere. You could be the most powerful thing in the universe, but if you have a friend and he's exactly like you and you trust each other 100%, that's much more powerful than one. Two is more powerful than one. Two is
Not
greater than one.
necessarily, but let's go back a bit. You said it will never change that peace is better than war. Depends on the
Right.
perspective, doesn't it? Look at World War II.
No. No, the only ideas that anybody's ever had about war is that they're creating more peace, because we all know that I mean, why would war be better?
Well, look at World War II. We had a Nazi state attempting to take over massive swathes of the planet. If
Well,
we
I
had
I,
not
I
gone,
mean,
if hang on, if we had not
yeah.
gone to war and opposed that and fought for liberty, which we did, then everybody would be speaking German except for you. You wouldn't, because you're not Aryan. I'd be fine. I'm Aryan. I'm big, I'm broad, I've got blonde. Well, I used to have blonde hair before I went grey. I've got blue eyes. I'd be fine. You're ginger. You'd be stuffed.
Oh yeah.
War is not always bad.
Right, but
Sometimes we
you mean
have to fight.
circumstantially though, subjectively. Well,
Yeah.
I'm saying is if you had a button though, and the button was make peace with all the Nazis, no war, then would we who wouldn't press the button?
Well, that would be lovely, but we don't have such a button.
Right, but
So
still
in the
objectively
real
peace would
world,
be
it is
better than war.
ridiculous to say that peace is always better. Appeasement
Not
can
circumstantially, but then you
appeasement
would also
can lead to absolute enslavement.
But what's your justification for that? What's your reasoning on why war would ever be good? It would be to justify the end, right? Which would be
Yeah,
peace.
yeah,
Right.
that's right.
So
But if I'm in
in
a
other words, order is
situation, if I was in a situation where
yeah.
you've got an organization like Hitler, like Nazi Germany, or frankly, conceivably, possibly like America at the moment, who started invading places like Canada and Iceland, it would be absolutely appropriate for those countries and their allies to go to war. Because we can't
Yes.
just say in the abstract. We have to be able to say in the circumstance in which we find ourselves.
We do have to apply to the circumstance. I agree with you, which is why I don't have one thing up at the top. Like, I won't say that peace is the only way to the end goal, but ultimately it is the goal. So even if you're justifying war, you justify it to peace. Order is better than chaos, is really what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I would agree that I would prefer peace, and that would be my goal. But I also understand that there is a real world, and in that real world, sometimes the best that we can do is defend ourselves against oppression. I
I would
thought
agree.
a few
Yeah.
years ago, I sat down because I'm a pacifist. I am in agreement with you. I'm very much in favor of peace, everybody living together, and all of that. I'm a pacifist. But I actually thought to myself, what would get me to man the barricades? And I can give you the answer. Although I'd be useless. I'm 60 years old. I'm unfit. I'd die in the first wave. but I'd be there. And the reason, which is another reason why I can say I don't worship myself, because actually I count my life as less important than my society. What would get me there is actually what's going on in your country right now. If we had people coming down, grabbing people for no good reason and deporting them or sending them to concentration camps, I'd be manning the barrack. What concerns me is that you people aren't. So yeah, peace is a lovely ideal. Humanity is not there yet.
Right, but we should get there.
Well, it would be nice, but we've had, this human species has had at least 100 and potentially up to 250,000 years to work that one out. We still haven't managed it. You say all of these lovely sounding things about what is, and you talk about metaphysics as if it's real, when actually it's, from my perspective, it's just imaginary.
But
And it's
that doesn't mean
meaningless
it's not
to me.
real.
And then you
Imaginary
top it
concepts
all
still
off
have.
by calling me a Satan worshipper, which is nonsense. I don't believe in Satan.
I don't believe you worship yourself. That was sort of my point.
Well, no, I
My
don't.
point is I don't. But it seems to me that's what the mainstream of atheism is. It doesn't.
Well, that's
It
because
doesn't
you don't
mean that.
understand what atheism is. And I tried
Well,
to
maybe
explain
not
it
to
to you.
you. Fit it into another framework, though.
Well, it's very simple. Atheism is not being convinced.
No,
That's it.
you're right. You're right. You're right. But it's in my definition. I wouldn't call you an atheist.
Well, I would call me
But
an
by your
atheist.
definition,
Why don't you believe me?
right? I do. Yes. I don't quite
So you
understand
would
it,
call
but
me
I
an
do.
atheist. Well,
Well,
if you're
no,
saying that I'm
because
not an atheist, you don't believe me. So explain, please. You promised
well,
me
I
a
believe you
brawl.
have
Let's
a
have that brawl.
yes, sir. Uh, I believe that you have a hierarchy, and at the top is what you follow, and that thing that you follow is what I call God. I believe that's what, even though religion has very much missed it in many ways, I believe that's what, call it the Tao, call it the Logos. I mean, you've said you believe in the Logos, and that you believe in things, and that you have, you know,
But we still
that you
haven't
have
fully
a,
defined what you mean by logos.
I mean, it's really close to what I'm talking about as source. It's the reason behind the universe. It's the what is.
What you said last time was that logos means that there is logic in everything. But
Yeah,
logic is a way that we describe the world.
well, logos is why the math works.
No, it isn't. You've got the cart before the horse. The math works, or the maths, as we would say in this country, works. And logic is our way of describing that.
But it wouldn't work if it wasn't meant to. I mean, I know that's not the greatest way to say it. If the laws of the universe didn't allow it, it wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't order.
Which gets me right back to my point from right at the start of this conversation, that the laws that we identify are descriptive, not prescriptive. There is no lawgiver saying it has to be this way. Rather, we have noticed that it is this way and come up with methods to describe it.
Well, even if the source of things is changing, so the laws are changing, they're still there. But again, with the truth, like I was explaining about love, it's still objectively true. Order, life, love, those things all serve the same end.
They don't serve
truth.
any end.
Well, they do. Order.
No, they don't. They are simply emergent properties of a nervous system. I love because,
They're
for example, I love my partner. I love her because when I'm with her, my nervous system produces a number of neurotransmitters that give me a good feeling. That doesn't serve anything. There have
well.
been times in my life when
That's what.
I've had the same response with other people. It doesn't serve anything. It's simply my response to a situation that aligns with my values.
It serves the higher order. I mean, why? What? I mean, you say you would
What
sacrifice
higher order?
yourself for what you believe. That higher order, the higher order of what you believe.
But what my beliefs are my beliefs.
Well,
That's
no, the higher.
entirely subjective. It's not a higher
It
order.
serves the higher. It serves the higher order. Period. I mean,
Well, give me
that's
some
one of the
evidence to
great
believe in
beauties.
a higher order.
Some evidence.
Yeah, give me a
I
reason
mean,
to believe that you can't do anything other than your own imagination.
well, I mean, I would say that imagination doesn't mean it's not. There's not truth in it, and it
No, it
has
doesn't.
weight
So
in
give
this
me a reason
reality.
to believe it. Give me a reason to agree with you. Because at the moment, from my perspective, you're dismissing my perspective without having anything to bring to the table other than imagination. So give me a reason to think otherwise. So I'm not offended by what you wrote, but I am irritated by it and a little annoyed. So go on, give me a reason to think that you're talking anything other than your own imagination.
I mean, I can't not. Everything that I create is relative to my imagination. It's. I don't know
Everything
what you
you
mean quite.
create.
Everything I
Now, me
perceive
as an
is
atheist,
based
I
on my
will say
brain.
I do not. As an atheist, I will say I do not believe you. And you seem unable to give me any reason to believe you, and yet you
What?
still
What?
say that as an atheist, I am a liar.
No, I still don't understand what. I think we really agree, but the.
No, we don't. We absolutely do not agree. You're not really an atheist. Nobody really is. But if you worship your own ego or take no responsibility, which is a ridiculous equivocation on the word responsibility, that actually has a
I
completely
said if
different
you
meaning,
worship. If,
we do not agree.
uh-huh. If you
What do you
worship your
mean
own
by
ego, do you worship
responsibility? What does that mean?
responsibility? But can we first address if you worship your own ego? Do you worship your own ego?
No, I do not.
Right. Right. So
And I'll
everything
give you
below that
another
doesn't apply
example
to
to
you.
demonstrate that. I'm a
I
locum
believe you.
nurse.
I
Okay,
totally
well, I
believe
won't then.
you.
So, no, I don't.
I totally
Now,
believe you.
what,
Everything below that doesn't apply to you. That's what
right.
I was saying is if
Well,
you.
what does, well, you said you're not an atheist. Nobody is. I'm an atheist. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I think what you're saying by I'm an atheist is actually really similar to what I would say I believe, so maybe I'm an atheist. Because I don't believe in big bearded man in the sky. I don't believe in I don't believe in subjective God ideas. I believe there is just the truth.
There is an objective reality, whether we understand it or not.
Right.
So you don't believe in a God then?
Well, that's what I call God, but
But
that's what
you're
I'm
not an
saying. Maybe
atheist.
I'm an atheist by your definition.
No, you're not an atheist because you believe there's a God.
Well, I believe that is what God is. If you go back to the Bible or Taoism or Logos, I mean, it's really similar concepts, and I believe all those are the same source that we're talking about, which is
Except
the objective truth.
you believe that this thing, whatever it is conscious.
I do.
Well, then you're not an
On some
atheist.
level, different than what
You told me
you
last
you
time
do.
that this pen is conscious. Wasn't actually this pen, but it'll do as a stand-in. You believe that this pen is
Well,
conscious.
I said it's connected.
No, you said it
I
was
believe it's
conscious.
connected to the consciousness.
No, that's not what you
I
said. I
I
asked you specifically,
I,
is this conscious? And you said, yes, it is.
I said yes and no,
No, you
but
didn't. You said yes.
it's connected. I said yes and no, but it's like a cell in your mind is connected to the consciousness. It's part of the consciousness, but it's not this consciousness that I am.
Right, then give me a reason to believe that there is a consciousness outside of a nervous system. Because at the moment, you've got nothing to back up the claims you're making.
No,
And
I'm
yeah, I
just
know I'm
saying
being a bit
basically that
hostile,
logos.
but I'm angry.
I believe that the logos is that's what I stand on to say that God is conscious. I don't have any proof that what I'm saying is God is conscious, but it's what I believe because I feel like I know it.
Right, I'm not asking
I
you
really
for
can't give
proof.
you.
I'm not asking for proof. Proof is really hard outside of mathematics. I'm not asking for proof. I'm asking for a reason to believe.
I mean, because we have consciousness, that's why I believe it.
So that doesn't mean that a rock is conscious. It doesn't mean that there's some great overarching consciousness. It means that our nervous systems have a particular ability.
Yeah, you could be very well right. I can't really argue against it. I'm not even sure I do believe that God necessarily is conscious. It's definitely not conscious in the same way we are. So what we define as consciousness really is unique to us.
You said you're not even sure God is conscious. Then what's the point of God?
What's the point? I mean, the point of the laws of the universe are the point itself. I mean, you know what I mean? It just is. I'm not saying that. I mean, if I could say things like love or truth, but it is those things. So that's not the, the reasoning, you know.
If you have an unconscious agent, it cannot have a plan, it cannot have designs, it cannot actually be an agent. So
But
what's the value in believing that it's got any properties worth considering?
if I take consciousness out of my equation, I don't really lose much.
Well, take it out of the equation, then what are you left with?
Um, I still have the same hierarchy, and I still, believe in that objective truth as the thing that I'm following. So I don't have to call it God, but that is what I call it.
Okay. But you take away consciousness, you're left with basically natural laws, yeah? Physical laws.
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
we have a name for that. It's reality. Why do we need to
Yeah,
worship reality? What's the
so that
point?
we are not, well, because you can worship non-reality.
Well, you
The
can,
whole concept.
but you still haven't defined worship? Tell me what worship is, as opposed to acceptance.
It's something that you believe enough that you follow it. I mean, you
Oh,
worship it
acceptance.
because,
I believe in
yeah,
gravity,
it's
which
very
is
much
why I won't try and walk off a cliff. But I don't worship gravity. I just understand and
right.
respect
But
that
it's
I can't walk off a cliff and live.
right, but you give to it, you sacrifice to it. That's really the best definition I could say for worship. It's something that you give to because it's above you.
What am I
It's more
giving?
than
What am I
you're
giving?
giving your devotion, your attention,
No, I'm not. I'm not giving any
your practice.
devotion. I'm giving it attention, not devotion.
I
I'm not
mean,
devoting
you
gravity. I simply understand that if I walk off a cliff, I'm likely to die.
Right. But then there's concepts that are less solid than that that you have to then believe. You have to choose to believe in things like love.
No, I don't. It's not possible to choose what you believe. And here's a little test
You
for
don't
you.
believe?
I want you to choose to believe that you can fly. Do you believe it?
I I have before as a child.
No, no, I don't mean in an aeroplane or something like that. You can flap your arms. I want you to believe that you can flap your arms and fly. Do you believe that?
I I don't, but I could.
Right, you don't believe it because we don't choose our beliefs. We have to be convinced or not.
Well, there is a certain
Nobody's
amount of choice in it.
what people choose is what they claim to believe. I didn't choose, for example, to be an atheist. I am simply not convinced in any God by any God concept. That's not a
Right.
choice. It's who I am because I'm not convinced
Got
by nonsense.
got it.
Have you got it?
That makes sense.
I'm not a liar. I am an atheist. And frankly, this nonsense, usually from Christians, they give me that because of Romans 9, which is the idea that God has written his existence on our hearts and all of that. My heart's a fucking pump. I think with this. And what my brain tells me is that there is no reason to believe in any God. And calling the universe God is just a ridiculous equivocation, in my view. So I ask you again, give me a
Well,
reason to think otherwise.
okay, look. So let's go into. Now, I have to preface this with I don't believe that there's such thing as a perfect book like the Bible. It's not some magical book, but I do like a lot of the concepts and truths in it, like I do in different philosophers or ideologies or movies or myth. But the idea that you just said that God has written himself on your heart. That's to me that's saying, and I believe this is what they were attempting to say back then. Now people have gotten lost and people are a little silly about a lot of these things. A lot silly about a lot of these things. But I believe that what they were trying to say was that the laws of the universe are written upon the heart. Like Jesus said, the living law. That's me, conscious, because I can choose. Does that make sense?
So, well, in the context of it's a book of nonsense, yeah, it makes sense because you're
Well,
telling me what.
not nonsense. Not nonsense. Just call it mythology. I like the idea because it rings true with me. It's understanding the laws of the universe and without the verbiage to say source or say laws of the universe. They're saying God, but what I'm saying is there's those truths that we've been discovering and trying to understand from different perspectives since forever are what we amalgamate into what we call God. Just like when we used to say that the sun was our provider and therefore our father. Okay, it's not literally our father, but I don't think anybody literally thought it was, but it does give us
Some
energy. It
people
does
did.
provide that.
Some
So
people
that's
did.
true. Right, I
If
know.
you
But it's part of it is
go
true.
back to the
That it
ancient
is.
Egyptians, they literally believed that the sun, some ancient Egyptians, Akhenaten, for example, um, absolutely believed that the sun was the father of mankind.
Right, and it's pretty
Nonsense.
reasonable from his perspective at the time.
Well, you could say that, but it's got the same problem that modern Christians have and that you have, in that there is absolutely no objective reason to believe it.
I believe in source. I mean, don't you didn't we agree that we both believe in a source and have a hierarchy?
No, we both agreed that, oh, well, maybe I didn't elucidate as well as I should. So let me be really clear. I believe that the present instantiation of the universe had a beginning. Beyond that, I have no bloody idea, and neither do you,
Well,
because
what creates order
nobody
is
knows.
that that beginning is. So there has to be a string, though. There has to be a line. Now this isn't literal. This is to explain too many concepts and things we don't understand. But if it started here and the order is going a certain, let's say up, that it's building towards stuff. What it's building towards is the laws of the universe itself. So a four-legged creature learns to walk by trying to align itself to the laws of gravity, right? So as it does that, it creates a more true way, you could say, to walk, or one of the true ways to walk. And
Okay,
so
yeah,
as we
well,
build up,
that's a bait and switch. You started off talking about the universe, and then you talked about a living being that is motivated by the need to be able to function, to survive, to get food, to run away from predators. Of course, a living being has a purpose in itself, that it's given itself a purpose, either instinctively or otherwise, to be able to be as independent as possible, as quickly as possible. Those
right?
desires do not necessarily translate to the desires of the universe.
But that's where we really should go to again to what I would say is metaphysical law or truth, which
What does
is
that
the
mean?
objective. Well, it means the objective truth. So
No, it
is it
doesn't,
is it
though.
bad to?
Objectivity cannot be metaphysical, almost by definition.
I might not. I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not. What's your definition of metaphysical? I mean, metaphysical
Well,
is
I would say
love.
that
It's truth.
metaphysical is that which is beyond the material.
Right. So it's a concept that, but it's still very real. I mean, love is still a force. Truth is still a force that does exist.
No, not in the sense that if you're talking about religion, then metaphysics is simply made up nonsense.
Well, I don't want to talk about religion, but I'm talking about just
But you
objective
did.
truth.
You
Objective truth
did. You
exists, but
equated. You
it's not
equated
physical.
truth. You equated truth with religion. You
Yes,
did
because
that.
I
That's
believe
what
they're
you
mining
said
from the
earlier.
same. Yeah, because they're mining from the same source. So that was me trying to point towards what's going on and why I still use the idea of God. But there is objective truth. I mean, that's not physical; it's metaphysical.
No, it's not. Objective truth is an emerging property of the material world,
An emerging property.
or an emergent property. What is true is something which has a material correlate.
Not in concepts like love. Two is better than one when it comes to a living, ordered, useful, evolved creature like a human. I mean, two humans are just more powerful than one. That's a fact. Two humans together are far more powerful than two apart fighting. Therefore, order's
Are
better
you
than chaos.
saying that
Therefore,
are you saying that the ability to fight effectively is objectively true?
yeah,
And is that objectively positive
not in every tiny aspect, but on the bigger scale, yep.
for them? Not necessarily for the poor schmucks that they're fighting.
No, again,
Right.
if they got along with the
So then it becomes a subjective equation, doesn't it?
No, two is always two on the same team is always better than two against each other.
Well, not necessarily, not if they disagree with each other. See, there are so
No,
many
if
variables
they,
in that.
but if they don't disagree, it's better than if they. I mean, it's better that they do disagree than it is if they don't. They're more powerful that way.
I think you meant that the other way around. It's better if they don't disagree, is I think what you meant to say.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But so what? It doesn't mean that they're right
That's a,
in what they're fighting
that's
for.
objective truth. It's not a physical law, but it's still a truth.
Right. So basically, what you're saying is the objective reality is that two physical beings, all other things being equal, are likely to be more powerful than one physical being. That's a
Not likely,
material
always.
truth, not a metaphysical truth.
Well, how is that physical?
Well, because it's two physical beings combining their physical strength.
Right. But the truth I'm talking about is the concept, the imagined concept, the made up concept, you could say, of two is better than one.
Which is a made-up concept. So yeah, cool. It's a made-up concept. I
But
tend to think that it's
it's
so
divine,
variable.
but that doesn't. Everything's made up. All these words we're using are.
Thank you. Therefore, there is no God because
No.
there are no particular set rules. We, as a species, have defined the terms by which we see the world, and I suspect
We've
that for
defined it.
a large proportion of that, those
Right, but
terms
to define that.
concur with what is materially true in the terms that we're talking about true, but
Mhm.
it's still just us, no God required.
Objective truth. I mean, that's. We don't have to call it God. We can call it objective truth. But it's still a going towards. I think that's where we're kind of disagreeing, is that I believe it is moving towards truer, better reality because of the forces that are already in place.
Yeah, forces that
Yeah.
are
So
already
in a
in
sense,
place, but that doesn't mean
yes,
somebody put them there.
it doesn't necessarily, no. But I don't believe God is a somebody. That's not what I would say.
See, it seems to me, Aaron, and forgive me, but you're really confused in this. You've grown up in a household that I think, I may be wrong, but I think you grew up surrounded by effectively the Torah, which is all about the personal Abrahamic God. And you got this idea of this sort of conscious deity, and then you moved away from that because you saw that it made no sense, but you haven't quite been able to put it down.
Absolutely.
So, so you have taken this world and this universe and tried to square the circle. In doing so, you've done two things. You have created a false equivocation where you believe that this God persona isn't what you were first told, but it might be everything somehow without you being able to really define that. And you've kept on to the idea that it's not possible to not believe in a God. I would invite you to get rid of all the crap and the baggage and just accept that you don't believe in a God. You accept the universe is what it is and no God required.
Well, see,
Instead of
that's
instead of shoring up your need to say that you believe in a God by demeaning and misrepresenting those who do not.
See, the reason I can't give up the concept of God, and or haven't, let's say, is because what you're pretty close. I was raised Judeo-Christian, not religious, culturally more Jewish, went to church a lot, stopped going to church pretty young, came up with my own ideas
Sorry,
about
is that
things.
church or synagogue? Which do you mean?
Church.
Church. Okay, so
Uh,
Christian church.
Methodist, mostly. Yeah.
Methodist. Okay,
Um,
I almost became a Methodist preacher. So
all right.
I know
Interesting.
Methodism.
So, but what I found is actually after, my atheism hit in for a little while, and then I kind of looked back at what I've been taught and the people that I respect and try to dig a little bit into what was going on and things I'd already learned from it, however that came about. And what I discovered is that there's a lot of truth to be mined out of most religions.
Give me an
Taoism, I love
example.
it. Logo,
Give me an example.
Tao, out of Judeo-Christian or
Whatever. Give
another.
me an example.
Taoism. I mean, I believe there is a force in the universe, and that's pretty much what I'm talking about.
Right now,
That you can't name the name.
truth. You said truth, but then
Yeah.
you immediately qualified by I believe. I think we've already established that belief isn't necessarily truth. So I want you to give me an
No,
example
not
of truth
necessarily,
in
but
Taoism.
that there's a force in the universe, that there
Okay,
are
can you
laws in the
demonstrate
universe that
that?
you can't,
Can
and
you
that you can't
demonstrate
name
that?
them. What?
Can you demonstrate that?
Everything shows that there's order in the universe. Order itself, life, consciousness, those things stand on their own.
There is order, but does that mean that there is a force in the terms that you were describing it the last time, which was this conscious thing, this nebulous conscious whatever that you never really defined? Give me
Well,
some
it's that
evidence for that.
Taoism, for example, says that you can't name the unnameable, and I would agree that there's a huge portion of what we're talking about that you can't name, and that's because
Hang
beyond
on.
what we know.
That's just a tautology. Of course, you can't name the unnameable. Like you can't fry the unfryable. So what?
I
It's a
know
tautology.
that's just what Eastern
But
things say, but it has
if you want to discuss something, you have to be able to define it. Otherwise, it becomes meaningless.
you do have to some, but we're talking about the source. We're talking about all the laws we haven't discovered as well as the ones that we have. So we can talk about what we do know or think we know about this thing, but eventually it becomes something we can't grasp or fully grasp.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. But that
Right.
doesn't mean we can't define what we do know of it. And if you're saying we can't define it,
Right.
then you can't explain it either, and therefore
No.
can't
What I meant by
reasonably expect anyone to believe it.
what I meant by referencing that you can't name the unnameable is that the source itself is the unnameable. Like that's the only unnameable thing really is the objective truth. We can name just about anything. We can define it as we want, but you can't catch the whole. You can only catch pieces.
Well, look, I can name it. I can say that the objective truth is called Sally.
Right. I call it God,
Okay.
but it doesn't really catch
Equally
it doesn't catch it.
meaningless.
Not
Equally
meaningless. It's
meaningless.
still no, it has plenty of meaning in it. I can tell you the meaning I have for it.
Go on then.
Objective truth. What we don't know and what we do know. It's the beginning, it's the end, it's
Okay, demonstrate that. I don't care what you call it, demonstrate that.
demonstrate. I mean, to me, everything is proof of life, of order, of the objective truth. I mean, everything is literally my evidence. And I'm not trying to cop out. That's just what I see.
If I talk to a creationist Christian, I know you're not that, but just as an illustration, if I talk to a creationist Christian, it doesn't take long before they say, well, look at the trees. The trees are not evidence of God, the trees are evidence of trees. You say
And
everything.
they
And I say
also
that's evidence
they're
of
also
everything. It's not evidence of God.
they do speak, I agree, but they do speak. Well, actually, I only half agree. They do speak to the truth or laws of the current universe.
Yeah, but so what? I'm not pretending that the universe does not have physical laws. It does. What I'm arguing is that there is no consciousness that created that.
I mean, we get into the word consciousness. I think we're both kind of losing ground there. I'm gonna say that there is no consciousness. I'm gonna agree with you there, but
Well, that's not what you
not
said
like
last
ours.
week.
Well, because it's not like ours. What I believe is that it's a totally different thing. It's 10 dimensions past here. It's not really something we could even describe, but
Can I ask you a
it
really
is.
straight? Can I ask you a really straight question? Because
Yes, and it
the
is.
quality of this conversation is different from the quality of the conversation last time. Were you high
Yeah,
last time?
I was very tired. I had the police show up. I should have canceled, but
Okay. Because a number of people have messaged me and said they thought you were high.
no, I wish, but no.
No, okay. Because last time you were very clear that the universe is conscious.
Well, it is what I believe, but I can't really define that at all, so I don't really want to bring it into the conversation. It just sounds silly when I do, and it could be that I mean it's just a word that really defines what we're experiencing, not something else. So I really can't describe to you what I believe about this, but I do believe that it is conscious and it's in a very different way. What I would say, I guess, is that you'd add what we experience and you'd add a bunch more to that, but I don't know what you'd add exactly.
Okay, second question then on that similar theme. Is
Yeah,
that consciousness actively planning?
I don't believe it does. No.
Right. Does
Well,
that
well,
consciousness, well, third
there's a bit of a
question.
paradox. Yeah.
Whoa, hang on. You've answered that. Third question. Does that consciousness that is not planning also punish?
Well, there's a paradox there. Not actively like you're saying, but I am conscious and I'm part of it. So I can consciously do these things. And there's also what you might call karma or just consequence. And those consequences align with the original law, in my opinion. And so yes and no. Not the way you're framing it, but also yes, like karma does.
Right.
Not
Okay.
as
So I mean,
a
I get the
not as
concept
a
of karma. I don't agree with it because look through history. There are all sorts of people who were incredibly cruel and oppressive and who lived in luxury until their deaths and were fine. What I'm really asking
right. I don't really believe
is
in karma
there
either. I just meant like
is
that.
is there a hell?
It's not a physical, no, nothing like what most Christians and people believe. Absolutely not. Jesus was saying that there's literally a valley. This is relevant, I promise. That there's literally a valley in Israel called Gehenna, which is
It
the
was
valley of
basically a
hell.
midden. It was a midden.
Right.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, they threw the trash of the city into it.
Yeah, it was a
There were a
midden.
lot of starving people in it, and there were people that were sacrificing their children to these
Yeah,
statues.
yeah,
And
it was a
he was
midden.
saying if you,
It was a
right,
midden. It's just outside Jerusalem. Yeah, and
right, and he
Jesus
was
talked
saying that if
about that.
yeah, he was saying that if you go down there and you act like that, you're causing, bad stuff. You're causing chaos. You're messing
Right.
with yourself.
Forget
You're
Jesus, because neither of us believe in the Bible. Forget Jesus. This
oh, but it's still true what
consciousness
he's saying.
this consciousness that is the universe,
Yeah.
does it punish us after death?
I don't punish. I mean, after death's a hard concept, but I don't believe there's punishment. But I do believe that order always. I mean, chaos. I mean, I would just say no.
Right. Okay, so let me sum up. You believe that the universe has a form of consciousness. You do not believe that it is intervening, because you said earlier about you don't believe in divine intervention, nor do you
Yep.
believe that there is any consequence after death. So my question to you then is, given that none of this can be demonstrated to be true, who the fuck cares?
What do you mean?
Well, it's got absolutely no impact on my life while I'm alive, and there's no consequence after I die. Why the fuck should I care? Oh, and it can't be
Well, I
evidenced to
don't.
be true.
Assuming that you don't disappear after you die, if you don't mind, then I would say that there is a now karma. I agree, it doesn't make sense because it's acting as if there's a equal perfect reaction to everything, and I don't believe that's necessary for order. What needs to be carried over is the order. So if the universe, like the soil, is something goes into the soil, it repurposes itself into new life. I would say something like that probably happens. I would say that it's very orderly. You might call it just, but I don't believe there's any sort of arbitrary punishment. I don't see the real purpose of punishment for that. That doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't to me either. But you are still
So I mean,
saying that this is in the universe. Give you your entire argument. The universe is conscious. It doesn't intervene in our lives. It doesn't intervene after death, and it cannot be evidenced. These are all things that you have said. I've paraphrased them, but they're all things that you have said. Who gives
I
a
wouldn't say
toss?
it cannot be evidence, but
Well, you said
yeah,
you couldn't evidence it when I've asked you repeatedly
couldn't,
for evidence,
couldn't get
and you've
all. You can't
occasionally
get all
said,
of it.
I can't evidence it.
Well, everything is of the objective reality.
You say,
Everything, even if we're what?
you say that, but you've not been able
Well,
to
I mean, of
evidence
course,
that.
but that's an of course. I mean, everything has to come from the objective truth. It's everything's real, right? Reality's real.
Yeah, but that in no way suggests consciousness or a god.
No, you just said that you can't find evidence for it. I mean, the evidence for reality is reality.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Yeah, you can have empirical evidence for empirical things, but that doesn't evidence
Right.
your god.
Well, it sort of does evidence my what I'm defining as God. But I can
Okay,
agree it's very much not what most people call God.
right. So what you are defining, I'm going to try and summarize again because we're coming to the end. We've got 10 minutes left, something like that. I'm
All
going to
right.
try and summarize again. You believe, for no reason that I can pin down, you believe the universe is conscious. You do not believe it intervenes. You do not believe that there is any consequence after death. And you're saying you define this as God, yet it has apparently no definable characteristics and it cannot be empirically evidenced. Is that about right?
You can't wholly empirically find evidence for it, but again, I mean, all things to me are evidence of it.
Right, but that's like look at the trees, isn't it? They're evidence of trees. They're not evidence of
Well,
how the
they
trees came
do
to be.
have, they do reflect the truth somewhat, though.
Yeah, the truth is that trees evolved.
Right. They reflect the objective truth in some form.
Yeah, but they don't in any way suggest a god or a consciousness.
Except that there is a consciousness, and if there is a consciousness, there's where it's a little funny. I believe that since I'm conscious and I'm part of the universe, the objective truth, that therefore that's proof of consciousness of God through at least me.
Okay, do you accept that I do not believe that that is true?
That what's not that we're consciousness, that we're
No, no,
conscious, or that
no. That you, as you, with all your attributes, do not constitute evidence of a God. Do you accept that I do not believe that you constitute evidence for God?
assuming, I mean, what's your definition of God?
Oh, for fuck's sake, man, come on. You
Well,
have
if you're
spent
going by
over
my
an hour
definition,
trying to explain this
that's my definition.
God concept and failing miserably. Let me just say that you have not convinced me. Do you accept that?
I'm not trying to change you. I mean, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna be who you are. I just wanted to talk to you,
Right,
but
okay, all right, let me put this a different way. Do you accept that I do not believe in God? Any God?
including my definition.
Yeah. I believe in the universe. I do not believe that it's a God.
Well, God, as in, I don't understand what you mean by God, as in a higher power, as in a floating man in the sky. I mean, a consciousness. Is that what you're saying? Like, you don't believe in it's a conscious.
Okay, yeah, do you accept that I do not believe that the universe is universally conscious?
Yeah.
Right. Do you then accept that as an atheist, I am not a liar?
Yeah.
That'll do me. One more question. Will you be so kind as to retract the statement you made on Facebook about atheists being liars because nobody is an atheist?
But didn't I say that if you worship your own ego,
But I don't. And
right?
you
And I didn't
accepted
believe you
that I
did
don't.
then. I wasn't texting that to you. I mean, I was texting that to people who worship their own egos. You have higher truth than yourself. You believe in integrity. You believe in,
You're not
you know that
really an
you.
atheist. Nobody really is.
I
Will you retract
not
that?
by my definition,
That
and
was your
by my
definition. I'm
definition of.
quoting your words. You're not really an atheist. Nobody really is.
Well, it all depends on definitions. It's all relative. By my definition, you're not. But I understand your definition too. By your definition, I'm also an atheist,
Right, then let me give
pretty
you,
much.
in the last few minutes we've got of this video before we need to end it, because it gets ridiculous otherwise. So let me give you this. My belief is that in order to shore up your assumptions, which you cannot evidence, you have decided to denigrate those who disagree with you. When I held your
I am
feet to the
challenging it.
fire, when I held your feet to the fire, you were unable to demonstrate any sort of truth in what you believe. And so you've gone back to, oh, in my definition, and yet you still have the
Well,
audacity to talk about objective truth. You promised me a brawl. What you've given me is incoherent nonsense. I am an atheist because I am unconvinced. The least you could do is acknowledge that I am sincere in my views.
I believe you're sincere in your views.
Okay, thank you for that. Will you then retract the statement, you're not really an atheist, nobody really is?
I it's a challenge, but I'll retract that.
Thank you.
There's
Please go
definitions
to
of atheism.
Facebook onto the same page and retract your statement.
I don't know that I'll do that. It's a challenge because there's atheists out there that aren't saying what you're saying. They don't believe in a
Yeah.
hierarchy of beliefs. They say
Yeah,
they
but
don't have
you
beliefs
said
because there is no
nobody
objective.
really is. You said nobody really is. I'm holding your feet to the fire about that.
Again, by my definition, nobody is.
Yeah, okay, well, by my definition, nobody is a cheese sandwich. Who cares? There is a definition of atheist, which is a person who is not convinced that a God exists.
I thought atheism was saying that there is no gods,
We talked
which
about this the
God being
first
higher
time when you were
power.
either high or really tired. We talked about this the first time. There's a difference between belief and knowledge. Most atheists I
But
know,
there,
there are a few that will say they know there is no God. Most atheists I know will say they have no reason to believe there is a God.
well, that's just saying that they're taunting the idea of atheism.
No, it's not. It's not. Absolutely not. Let me give you an illustration again from Matt Dillahunty because he's got some really good material. Let's say that I have a jar full of gumballs,
Right.
and you don't know how many gumballs are in that jar, and neither do I. But I say to you, having never seen this jar of gumballs that's in my hand, if you can imagine, it's in my two hands, there is an even number of gumballs in this jar. Do you believe me?
Sure. Yes.
Why? Why on earth? I've not.
Because
I haven't
because
seen
it's
this jar before. Neither have you. Neither of us have
yeah,
seen it. I
but
say there's an even number.
you it's an imaginary jar. You created it, so by that
Yeah, but let's say it's
definition,
a
you're
real
right.
jar. It's not. I mean, I haven't got it with me. That's why I'm doing it this way.
Okay.
A real
Well, I
jar
mean,
of
do I
gumballs.
believe?
Neither of us have seen it. I say there's an even number. Do you believe me?
No.
Right.
I mean, I
So you're
can't say
saying
yes,
there's an odd
no.
number. So you're saying there's an odd number
Could
then, are you?
no, we don't know. Neither of us know. It could be, could
Right.
maybe not.
Right. The only way to know is to get the evidence. I'm an
Yeah.
atheist. I do not believe in the same way that you don't believe that there's an even number, but you're prepared to accept the possibility. That's an atheist. An atheist is someone who lacks belief. A theist is someone who believes. That's different from Gnosticism, which is knowledge, and agnosticism, which is not having knowledge. I'm an
Why isn't
atheist.
it
I
called a
do not believe.
maybeist?
You said nobody is an atheist. Will you retract
Well,
that?
but why? Uh, uh, by your definition or by my definition?
By the actual definition,
Which
theist
is
is
that you
one
don't
who
believe.
believes in God. Atheist is one who does not believe in God.
I put the two together that what we talk about when we're talking about gods, that thing we're trying to define is objective truth. Therefore, that's God, the one God, not a God, the God. So that's where I can't really agree by my definition.
Okay, let me just say to you now, I am not a liar. Neither are most of the people I know. And
But aren't you?
I'm sorry, but you have been absolutely unable to demonstrate any of the things you claim to believe, and yet you're still
Mhm.
arrogant enough to claim that we are liars. I'm
I'm
sorry.
not claiming that you lie.
I'm
No, lying
absolute
is
nonsense.
something you do knowingly. It's not something that you believe.
So, do you accept that atheists do not believe that a God exists?
If you include my definition, that's a big statement. All definitions of God or the definition of a higher power, because it seems like you do believe in a higher power.
No, I don't. I believe that there is a universe. But I don't
Which
believe in
is
a
a
higher
higher
power in
power
the way
than
that
you.
you've tried to define it. I don't believe in a conscious universe.
That's not necessarily the definition of God. That's the trouble with the word. It's defined
Well,
by
that's
so
the
many different
definition.
people.
That's the definition you gave last time we spoke. And I thought we'd got through this.
What? What was the definition? Sorry.
The definition last time we spoke was that you talked about the universe being conscious, even to the degree that a pen is conscious.
Part of that consciousness, yeah.
Right. I don't believe that. Do you accept?
Okay, so you don't believe that there's any conscious
No, that's
anything.
not what I said.
I mean, sorry, as
That's not what I
as
said.
that the whole, right, that the whole is not conscious.
Yeah, the whole is not conscious.
Okay, by that definition, yeah, I absolutely believe that you believe that. That's fair.
Right. And would you say that that is sincere?
Yeah,
Then will you retract that statement?
but it's by my definition that I put that statement in.
Yeah, and it's nonsense.
Only on your side, but you're right on your side. Yes, on your
But
side it's
yeah, but you
nonsense.
are talking about me.
Well, I'm talking about just like you're talking about me,
I'm saying
saying
that
there's
you
no
made a
God.
statement about the group to which I belong, and I object to it. This is why the gloves are off this in this conversation, because we've been
I
through
don't
this.
Right, but I don't think that you believe that my definition is a fair definition.
I don't think your definition is fair. I don't think it's reasonable, and I don't think it reflects the vast majority of atheists.
No, my
I
definition of
think
God, I
you
mean.
are trying desperately to discredit those people who disagree with you, because that's easier than having to actually think through the nonsense that you put forward.
Well, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't up for debate. That was just mostly to trigger people, but it's still, I mean,
Yeah, but
it's
you have not
contesting
been
my.
able. You have not been able to defend your beliefs. You just you keep repeating what you believe, but you're not able to actually support it in any way.
My definition is that God is objective truth. What more definition do we need? I mean, we both agree that exists.
Yeah, that's your definition. Now support it.
Well, you don't have to support objective truth.
There we go.
It's
There we go.
objective, not subjective.
There we go. You make a claim. We don't believe it. You discredit us for not believing.
You believe in objective truth, though.
I believe in objective reality.
Just not that it's conscious. So that's only an aspect of my definition.
All right. We're going to go around in circles again.
I'll
You
take down the
said,
post just for you, but
sorry?
doesn't really change what I'm. I'll take down
No, I
that post just
don't
for you, but
imagine it does. But I gave you the opportunity when you're not tired. I gave you the opportunity to defend your assumptions. As far as I can see, you have not been able to. But
I mean, that's your
okay,
perspective on it.
yeah, that's my perspective. I think that you are like so many theists of many different stripes, particularly Christians, although I know that's not you, but they will make an assumption or an assertion, and when they can't demonstrate it, they then will insult and denigrate the people who disagree with them.
Not everything's demonstratable, and not every. And when it comes to me, my personal experience, there's no need to demonstrate what I know, right? So I don't
Well,
want to
that's
tell you
entirely
just what I know.
subjective. That's entirely subjective.
Right.
Your
It
person,
is. Well, not from my perspective it isn't, but I don't want to just say to you, I know this, and so therefore it's true, but I still know what I know, and what I'm experiencing is a collective a reflection of truth through other pieces of it, which is really all you can get of this objective great truth, this source.
and yet none of the things that you have put forward are in any way coherent in that sense. In that you've got these disparate pieces of information that absolutely do not hang together.
No, that's not how I see it, but I see what you're
Well, I
saying.
know that's not how you see it. You've done better than you did last time. Last time you were tired. But the basic principles that you put forward are absolutely unevidenced. I see no reason to accept any of them. And yet you
Okay, so
still are prepared to say that atheists are not atheists. There is no real atheist.
an
And I
important
find that
piece
so
of
ridiculous.
an important piece of my beliefs, and the reason I argue these things is because a very important piece, because I shouldn't just, there's no reason to be on here if there's no reason to be on here. And the reason I want to debate this is not just for the truth. Though that's very prime, it's for morality, and when you in a structure of morality. So that's one of the big reasons I keep my spirituality in the way that it exists, because it's a proven and effective, as far as I can tell, a way to not just believe or understand, but it's a way to operate, to raise children, to bring morality, to have the ought, not just the what is. What ought to be is really important.
But what ought to be implies a plan and
Not
a target.
necessarily.
Well, it certainly
No,
implies a
not necessarily.
target or a goal.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Where's the evidence for that?
What do you mean? You have a goal too. You believe in love. You
Yeah, but I've no
believe in
evidence
truth.
for it. It's entirely subjective.
Well, of course you do. Everything's evidence for truth, and love talks for itself. It's another evident truth, really.
No, it really isn't. It's like people
It is.
like Americans often talk about manifest destiny as if it means something, and they'll call it objective. It's nonsense. It's the same deal. This is nonsense.
No, I mean, if you really look at love, just like any of these other concepts, like I said, they transcend. They transcend the what is. I mean, nature didn't
No, they don't.
invent the cooperation
Love doesn't.
or
Love
numbers.
love does not transcend what is because love is.
Right.
It says now, okay, you can say that it is because, and I would say this, that it is what it is because of human perception,
Yeah. See,
which
that's
is
where I disagree.
subjective in itself.
It's subjective, but it's also connected to the truth itself. Every concept is. You can't create a fiction that is completely without reality.
Well, it's part of reality, but when you see, this is another equivocation. When you talk about the truth, it's as bad as the equivocation where you broke up the word responsibility to say
It's,
responsibility as if it means
well,
something.
well, it does. If you're
Well, what does
conscious,
it mean?
therefore you have. If you're conscious and capable, you have a responsibility to
Yeah,
create the ought system, to have a hierarchy of
I
what should be.
I have
Right?
the ability to respond, but that does not in any way imply responsibility. They're different concepts. It's another equivocation.
I would disagree. I mean, you have hierarchy of responsibility, so you're more responsible to let's say, your personal life than you are to others, but that doesn't take away that responsibility to others, which I believe permeates
Right.
everything. I believe we're 100% responsible for everything.
And that's responsibility, but it's different
Right.
from the ability to respond.
I don't see it
Responsibility
as.
is not. Responsibility is linked to accountability. The ability to respond is not. It's just a statement about reality. They're different things. You equivocate, and it seems, I thought this the last time as well, half the time you don't even know that you're making these false equivocations.
Do you mean that because that I believe you're responsible to the objective truth and to define it and to find it and to search it and then to serve it?
Okay, that's a belief about
Really,
responsibility. Now, we can argue about that, but I'm
right,
not going to. I'm simply going to acknowledge that's what you believe about responsibility. That's different from the
right.
ability to respond.
But I don't see the difference.
Okay. All right. I'm not
If
going
you
to.
have the,
I'm not going to try and teach you English.
all right. Well, what about the example of, let's say there's a kid in the road about to get hit by a truck. Don't you have the responsibility, therefore, to get involved?
I have the responsibility. I don't have a
Right.
responsibility. I would do it,
But I'm
but
putting those in the same category.
Well, I
That
don't.
you're conscious.
Look,
Right. I know
look,
I
look.
am.
Let me give you a tangible example. You used to be a mental health nurse like me. Yeah?
Yes.
You're walking down the road and somebody who is not your patient, who is not on your caseload, is very clearly unwell. They're walking around, they've got very few clothes on, they're shouting at nobody, and they're very vulnerable. You have the ability to respond, but you are not responsible because
I know what
they're
you're
not on
saying.
your because they're not on your caseload and you have no duty of care. There is a
Well,
difference
I would.
between responsibility and the ability to respond.
I'm saying there's not though, because yes, there's a hierarchy though. I'm not saying that that means you need to get out of the car or you should or I'm going to judge you for it. What I'm saying is you have responsibilities to yourself. You have responsibility to take care of yourself, do reasonable things, to get home in time, to have time off, to pet your cats. But you
Yeah?
also have a responsibility to every single human on the planet because you're conscious and affect things. Just like you're responsible for your own
No, I don't.
actions.
No, I
Well,
don't.
I believe you.
I don't. I choose to accept the responsibility that I have given myself to do what is
Mm-hmm.
practical to help those around me. But I don't have a responsibility that is imposed upon me. Whether I have the ability to
All right.
respond or
I'm
not,
saying it's
I
innate.
have a
I'm saying you're
responsibility to people who are within my duty of care. I have the ability to respond to others. I may choose to, but that's not responsibility. You tried to equivocate the two by writing the word responsibility as responsibility, and you don't even
is the root of it.
understand that those concepts are
That's
different.
the root of the word. It's the root of the word. I mean, I was just being clever because
No,
it's the
it's
root of
not
the
the root
word.
of it's not the root of the word. It's
But it
really
is.
not. No, it isn't.
That's why it's. Well, what is it?
Well, I mean, I'm not a linguist, but ability
It's
is different
responsibility.
from.
It's two words amalgamated.
Okay, I'm not a linguist. I'm going to say yes. It may be where the word came from. However, English is a
Okay.
living language, and
Right.
responsibility in the modern world is different from the ability to respond, because English is a living language in the same way that gay used to mean happy. Now it means homosexual because it's a living language. The root of the
I
word
mean,
is less important than its current meaning.
hence, I mean that just reasons. I mean, so I use two words. I mean, how else am I going to say? Responsibility in my book is responsibility. Those are the same to me.
Right. Well, then you are talking your language that you have made up. It's very little
That's
wonder that people do not quite get what you're trying to say because you're using words in ways that are
that's
unfamiliar,
what
even
words are
down to your
for.
definition of God, which seems to be unique to you.
That's what words are for, especially the concept of God. It's huge. Probably the biggest.
The concept might be huge, but the reality is meaningless because it is nothing. There is no
There's
God in
no
my view. Or at least I have no reason to
right,
believe there is.
right, but there's no one definition of God, so we have to choose one.
No, we don't. I don't choose one. I go with whatever people are
We're
telling me.
going to use.
What you're telling me,
Well, I'm
I
not saying.
tried to go with, but it's
I'm not
incoherent.
saying. Not saying you have to believe in one. I'm just saying in order for us to talk about it, we have to define it.
Yeah, I agree. The problem is that
Yeah.
your definition, because I tried to go with your definition, and it's incoherent. You contradict yourself all the time. Things that you say in this conversation are very different from the things that you said in the last conversation, for example.
Well, just because I can't articulate it doesn't mean it's not consistent from where I sit. I
Well, okay,
understand
but
that
you're
though.
not able to articulate it, which means I
Right.
can't I can't understand it.
Well, we've agreed that its objective reality is part of my definition. I think the only part of my definition you don't uh, agree with is that the universe is conscious in a whole, as a whole.
Well, neither do you. You've repeatedly said
I
in
do.
this conversation, you backtracked on that
No,
and
I
said,
said
no, it's not conscious.
it's possible that it's not, but I do believe that it is.
Okay, because that's not what you said, what, half an hour ago, something like that?
No, it's see you look, it's a very personal definition, so I have to be I you know I have these little pieces of it, but what we agreed to a half an hour ago or so is that I don't believe that there's divine intervention. Now, just because something's conscious doesn't mean that it has to act in a certain way.
No, I agree. I agree. But then I'll come to, there's no divine intervention. There's no consequence after death. Why should anyone care about the God that you seem to be unable to demonstrate
Well,
anyway?
again, for one, morality, what ought to be.
But
You have to put something at the
morality is
top.
morality is not what ought to be. What ought to be is
Yes, it is.
basically a variant of the naturalistic fallacy. But morality comes from the fact that we are a social species and it's ways to allow us to live together. Different societies, for example, have different
Okay.
morality. So there's no
Well,
great
you're saying all morality is
universal constant.
You're saying all morality is subjective, so
Yeah,
murder, for example, is sometimes okay.
no, because murder by definition is unlawful killing. So in the society where
Unlawful.
it's defined as unlawful, it's not. Murder is unlawful
I'm
killing.
saying I'm saying outside of it, objectively, you're saying it's fine sometimes.
No, I'm not. I'm saying quite the opposite. That every society defines its morality, and every society defines what is lawful and unlawful, and murder by
How
definition is
how does
unlawful killing.
how does it define it?
Well, in the West, by various degrees of democratic process.
Well, actually, we defined it, at least in America, by the inalienable rights of the objective truth of the universe. Really, didn't
No, you
pick a
didn't.
religion.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, look at your constitution. It certainly says. I mean, the stuff about the separation of church and state, which is in your
That's
constitution.
new.
So it's not a religious principle. It talks
started
about
out, the roots of it.
inalienable rights.
Right. You can
And
only get
it
those
talks
from
about how
higher truth.
all men are equal, except for the
Right.
slaves.
Objectively.
Except for the slaves.
Actually, the reason they got freed was because our Constitution said objectively all men should be free.
Except if you were in the southern states where you believed differently, because you didn't
No,
you didn't read it in that way.
that's
You see, it's
beside the
all
point, though.
socially determined.
Yes, it's socially decided how we act, but not what is the right way to act. That's the ought.
But it is. That's why there was the
Oh,
problem
that's
in the
how.
antebellum
That's not the
South.
same as what ought to be. We ought to not lie, not cheat, not steal, not murder. Killing, different thing. Murder, bad. We ought not steal each other's partners. We ought not worship anything but the truth and love. Pretty much it.
For
We could
somebody who
definitely
doesn't
debate the
believe in
Sabbath.
Judaism or Christianity, you're really rather good at summarizing the Ten Commandments. You're not very good
Well,
at
they're a great,
discussing
they're a
the
great
nuances.
foundation. Do you believe in stealing?
Well, it would depend, wouldn't it? For example, if I'd been in Berlin in
Well, as a rule,
1944, if I'd been in Berlin
sure.
in 1944 and I had the opportunity to steal a list of Nazis just before they could burn them, I would steal it and I would give it to the Allies, give it to the Americans.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but as a way of life, you don't want your neighbors stealing from you, and you don't want them stealing from them, or you couldn't trust each other.
Exactly,
Couldn't
because
be
we're a
neighbors.
social species and
So
we evolved
so
that
it's
way.
the right way to operate. Exceptions are
This
exceptions,
is,
but it's the
this is
right
my
way to operate.
this is my problem with these sort of hard and fast rules that you get from religions like Judaism and Christianity. They're not
The idea
nuanced.
of I can change it to make it perfect. Don't steal when it's wrong,
And who decides what's
which is
wrong?
what the Bible. That's what the Bible was saying.
Who decides what's
Don't
wrong?
kill. Don't kill when it's bad. We all have to. That's our responsibility to try to define the
Right,
objective truth.
absolutely. But if you're saying when it's wrong, there is no objectivity in that. It's simply do
You
what
have
you
to,
think is right.
since you
You
state
might
it,
as well
then
be
you
you
try
might
to
as well be
follow it.
Alistair Crowley saying, do what thou wilt, that is the whole of the law.
That's
Don't
the
do it if
opposite of
it's
what I'm
wrong.
saying.
But it's just as subjective.
It's not.
And that's
He's wrong. It
not
doesn't
what
work.
you get with the Ten
It doesn't
Commandments.
work. It doesn't work if you're searching for order of ought to be
Of
for all of
course that
humanity
wouldn't work.
and all life
Of
and all
course
goodness.
that wouldn't work. Of course
Right.
that wouldn't work. So we
So
can't have either
it's not
extreme. So throw the Ten Commandments out and throw the anarchistic view out, and what we're left with is a
those are
consensus
supposed
by the majority, which is
built
facilitated through the
upon
democratic
the Ten
process.
Commandments in like 99% of states.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, that's just because America is becoming more and more ridiculous. And the rest of the world can
Well, it's
see that
because the
really
Ten
clearly.
Commandments are a really good root system because they align with really good objective truth and order and life and
Which
love and all
Ten
the things we
Commandments?
want.
Which Ten Commandments? Which set?
All of them. I'd debate the Sabbath one, but that's about it.
No, no, no. I don't ask which commandment. Which set of Ten Commandments? The first one or the last
The
one?
best one.
Which is?
Probably the
Which
most
one?
evolved. Whichever one we decide's the best.
Okay, so you're saying that the Ten Commandments themselves are less important than what society decides. For example,
No,
do
the
you
laws
believe
have
that
to be at the root.
do you believe that everyone should sacrifice their firstborn, including firstborn humans, to God?
No.
Do you believe that you should not see the kid in its mother's milk?
No, that's retarded.
Have you read Deuteronomy?
Oh, yeah, no, sorry. That I believe in. Just the mixing meat and cheese. That's silly.
Okay, but have you read Deuteronomy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you know that the final version of the Ten Commandments involves human sacrifice.
Yeah, but I'm not religious about the book. I'm talking about truth. The Ten Commandments
But
are a
you said
good,
that the you
fundamental
just said that the
truth.
Ten Commandments are really good rules to live by. Okay, well,
Right.
everybody should go around sacrificing their kids then.
No, the Ten Commandments in their original form were a really good system, hence why we built almost all of our law systems on them.
You see, that's really interesting because in Exodus 20, you get the Ten Commandments, and then Moses
But
smashes them, and
I
then he
don't
goes
believe
back
that
up
it's a
the
perfect,
hill. Then he
it's a
goes back
book
up the
written
hill
by
and
humans.
gets another set, the same as the first, but they're different. They're the ones that are recreated in Deuteronomy 20. Oh, sorry, in Deuteronomy. I'm not sure which verse or which chapter. But it's just nonsense. We, as a
But it's
society,
funny.
decide upon the
First of
rules by
all,
which
I don't
we
believe
live.
the book's perfect. But it's interesting that you brought that up because
You
he
brought that up.
actually came down to the people. They said it wasn't enough. It's right. I mean, that the specific that he came down. That because the reason he came down was because they weren't satisfied with the easy version, the simple version, the truer version, and they said we want more. And
That's
it's
not what it says
documented
in
it's
the
by
Bible.
especially like the Jews.
That's not what it says in the
What?
Bible. What it says in the
Yeah, it
Bible is that he
does.
brought the commandments down. He found them worshipping the golden calf. So he smashed them. Then he went back up and he got another set, the same as before, which happened to be different. It says nothing about the people not
Regard
being satisfied with the original set of Ten Commandments.
we're getting off subject. I don't believe it's a perfect book. It's just written by people, but they were trying to divine the truth sometimes, and sometimes they got it on the nose. And I think the Ten Commandments is as close as we've gotten, though we've
Well, I
had some
don't.
really cool additions to the law that I don't mind.
I don't think the
But I
Ten
believe in the
Commandments.
living law.
So, do
I
you
believe in a
believe?
living law.
Do you believe that women are property?
No.
Okay, because the Ten Commandments is very, very clear in context when it talks about you should not covet your neighbor's property, and then it lists things like his ass, his ox, his wife, his money. They're all in the city. You
Yeah,
know, come on,
you're right. We
this
could
is
evolve that
Bronze
one. We
Age
should
morality.
just say you should cheat on people or covet their stuff. I do agree with that.
And their wives, which are
Right,
listed
not as
as his
property. Let's
property,
take that part out. Let's edit
but
it.
they're listed as property. This is Bronze Age morality, and you're telling me it's good? It's bollocks.
What we've built out of it is pretty good. It's a good root
Um,
system that we rooted into.
as an Englishman looking at America now, I would absolutely disagree. I think that your
We've gotten
country is
away from it.
brutal.
We've gotten far away from it.
Well, you
The
follow in
separated
Project
church.
2025, which is fundamentalist Christianity in the political sphere. That's what you're following right now. Have you read
I'm not
Project
sure.
2025? Even a summary of
No,
it? I would
no.
advise you to.
I'm scared to.
Right, so you understand what I'm saying then.
Sure, but I mean, it's that doesn't. The people are different than these politicians, and even the people that follow them. But that doesn't mean they're
But the
not a cult.
politicians are leading you to
Yeah.
follow biblical principles.
Well, that's not my least favorite part. That's good, mostly. But really, we need to follow the
Right.
objective truth, not a religion.
Okay, because you were the one that brought up the Ten Commandments as being cool.
Well, yeah, but I prefaced it with I don't believe it's a perfect book. It's just a book. But
It's
I
just
do
a book
think
of
it's a good
Bronze Age
fundamental.
morality. It's a group of
Right.
people who didn't even understand where the sun went, trying to tell us about the world.
Yeah, and it's still pretty good. I mean, not stealing, not lying, not murdering. Those are good laws, and they need to be
Well,
at least the bare minimum.
no, it's not what I see from people who purport to follow those laws. So, I mean, Gandhi's a lovely quote from Gandhi. He said, "I like your Christ. I do not like your Christians. They are so unlike your Christ.
Amen. I agree with Gandhi. He's one of my heroes.
Look, I want to end it here because we've been going for 2 bloody hours. I'm knackered.
Alrighty.
You haven't convinced me. I'm sure you know that. I am still annoyed with you. I really am annoyed with you because much as I don't take offense, we spent quite a lot of time defining atheism at the first meeting, and you still are calling me and the people like me liars, and I have a real problem with that. But fair dues. Can we end it here?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thanks for talking.
Cheers,
I
Aaron.
appreciate it.
Bye-bye.